So our student supports team is coming forward to help us with our family engagement. We're very delighted to share as one in our series of enhancements, an enhancement that's about family engagement. We have been busy preparing for this night. I was thinking today, team, we've been preparing for this night for over a year now in terms of planning for a more intentional, cohesive, district-wide parent engagement endeavor. We've never doubted the commitment of our schools and of our school teams to involve parents, and my superintendent reports are filled with all of the ways that we involve our parents through schools. But as we were out on tour last year and in our early conversations with the board, we also understand that at the district level, we aren't always able to answer the question. And I remember Member Byers, before I even applied for the job, I remember one night you were asking, well, how is it that we as a district engage our families? And that question stuck with me all these months of what is the answer to how we engage our families. So for our opening tonight, and it's a great rainy storm, and you don't want to go out there anyway, so just sit back, and we're going to do a great topic that would have been a wonderful study session. I'll move quickly through the introduction. Our work for this evening is really to talk about how we would normalize the behaviors around family engagement. And in doing so, back to our book for this year on dignity, I'll wave it at you members one more time, but really to create and sustain a culture of dignity. So my job in opening for this amazing group is to really talk about the standards for dignity. Dignity sounds like a bumper sticker that maybe is vague and doesn't mean very much, but when we unpack our dignity research, there really is a lot to it. And members, I will point out that you have a bookmark tonight that will remind you of the 4 standards of dignity. But these standards really are the connection, the bridge into a model for family engagement. During our preparations, I kept referring to it as a new model, and the team corrected me because as a district, we have not had a model for family engagement. So it is a new model, but it's not replacing a systemic prior model. So we see the 4 standards for maintaining a culture of dignity. They play into what you're going to see this evening. Presume competence and positive intent, build partnerships and community, repair harm and restore relationships, affirm differences and uniqueness. And we know from the research, I'm just going to share a couple of sentences and then we'll get right into the model. To presume competence is to assume capacity, capability, and even the brilliance unique to each person. It assumes that each of us is the expert in our own experience. Each of us is the expert on our own experience. And then secondly, building partnerships and community. We know our partnerships with community and in partnership with parents. The research says when in partnership, people in positions of authority do things with people instead of doing things to or for people. So that's tenet number 2. Number 3, repairing and restoring relationship. I was reminded of this premise Member Cadu Blackwood, as you were just sharing your experience, that in order to repair harm and restore relationship, there must first be a relationship in order to restore that relationship. And so repairing harm and restoring relationships is a process that we've worked on in the district, and we have those processes, but it's one that we need to keep at the front. Finally, affirming differences means that we believe that diversity is our strength, it is our asset, and not a deficit. Tolerating implies merely putting up with differences. Affirming implies proactively seeking to discover, understand, and positively reinforce the presence and significance of differences. So what we want to share this evening, members, is a framework for family engagement. It's about connecting with families, which is stating the obvious, but what you'll see this evening is an intentional district-level framework so that our engagement with families is not just left to school PTOs or to well-intended principals and all the amazing work that's going on to involve parents. Our schools are busy involving parents. And yet this framework is about how our outreach and connections to families can be designed into the DNA of our organization and can be an intentional act, not something left to chance. So with that, our team, whom you know well, are going to walk us through the model for family engagement. Our desired outcome for this evening is to have a conversation, and then we'll talk more about some next steps. But our goal this evening is really just to engage with the board in a conversation about a framework for family engagement. Ms. Kristen Ryan, Assistant Superintendent of Student Support Services, and also a shout out to Mr. Kevin Harrell, who has built this foundation and on whose foundation we're going to move forward.
Yes.
Very good.
All right, thank you, Dr. Swift, and thank you, Board, for your time this evening. Tonight, the Student Services team is honored to present on the very important mission of authentic family engagement in our schools. This work is the heart of what we do, building meaningful partnerships with families to support the success of every student. I do want to introduce the team that's here tonight that will be supporting and leading this work with our schools.
Good evening, Board. I'm Tina Mitchell. I am the Director of Equity and Family and Community Engagement.
Good evening. It's great to see you all again. Kylie Luckett, Director of Mental Health.
And also, Kevin Harrell is here tonight, Executive Director of Student Support Services, and do want to thank Kevin's leadership and wisdom on all topics, but specifically family engagement, not just for this past year, but his whole entire year in dedication for public education. Thank you, Kevin. So we have forever valued the importance of working with families in education, and tonight we just want to elevate that work and build our capacity, not only as educators, but alongside our parents, creating that partnership. Because when authentic family engagement increases, the impact on all our stakeholders is excellent for our students' success. And so when we think of our stakeholders, I'm going to talk about three of them. And the first one is our educator stakeholders. So when educators have those meaningful partnerships with our parents, it leads to greater academic success, socially, behaviorally. Educators feel better in terms of motivating students. They can collaborate more. And it helps reduce that sense of isolation and strengthens the entire school community. For our students, when we have strong, authentic family engagement, it builds stronger relationship and it increases access and opportunities for our students, It can increase attendance and student outcomes as well. And for families, I think this is such a strong statement. And as a parent, when schools and families partner together, parents have a better experience with their own child. So as we look at authentic family engagement, we want to know the difference between family engagement and family involvement. Family involvement has been a traditional approach in education. It focuses on how schools serve families, often measured by parent participation at parent-teacher conferences or the music concert, looking at numbers. Family engagement, on the other hand, is about a partnership. It shifts the focus from serving families to collaborating with them. Engagement requires intentional efforts from the school to listen and value voices, builds relationships, and works toward shared goals. While involvement might look like parents showing up, engagement is about schools showing up for families by recognizing their perspectives, responding to their needs, and working to understand and address the barriers that they may face. This shift from involvement to engagement is what transforms relationships and creates meaningful, lasting impact for students. I'd like to take just a few minutes to share the planning and preparation that the team has done this past year to learn more and gain background on authentic family engagement. We have been intentional about our time together and learning new perspectives. We've connected with other school districts through virtual visits. We participated in many on-site visits. We attended a conference. And one of the most impactful learning experience was our participation in the school superintendent authentic family engagement cohort, which began last fall. Through this cohort, our team engaged in 6 learning modules along educational leaders from across the country. And this experience gave us the opportunity to learn directly from other districts that are successfully shifting from family involvement to true authentic family engagement. It definitely challenged our thinking. It helped us reflect on how we can better partner with our families. And I do want to give a shout out to Tina and Dr. Lynn Rance and Kevin. They were recognized as being cohort completers once they finished all the modules. And just thank you for your leadership and guidance and commitment to making our district better.
Thank you, Kristen. Now, I'm just going to take a few minutes to talk about authentic family engagement, how engagement is defined, and how this work is grounded in equity, ensuring that all families, especially those who have historically been underrepresented or underserved, has access, voice, and opportunity to partner in their child's education. In the fall of 2026, we will open the doors of the Lawrence Public Schools Engagement Center here at 110 McDonald Drive. The center will serve as the front door to the district and be the model for the other 22 district schools and programs. The Family Engagement Center will provide access and connection as a one-stop location in assisting families with wraparound supports, learning assistance, removing barriers, and increasing equitable access for all families. Lawrence Public Schools proudly serves 10,000 plus students through all of our sites. Our goal is for every school and program to function as a welcoming center of engagement. Every visit by a family member to one of our locations is an opportunity to enhance, to strengthen, and to rebuild relationships if necessary. Our goal is for every student and family to feel welcomed each and every time they enter one of our buildings. Cobb and Cranapple emphasize that building a culture of dignity and belonging requires people to show up with patience, openness, listening, and empathy, especially when working across differences. This reflects the culture of belonging and equity we strive to cultivate in every building. As a district, we have been intentional about embedding dignity into our daily operations, and this intentionality will continue to drive these 4 dispositions into the future. Mapp and Henderson have provided us with a definition of engagement, highlighting the essential partnership of family, community, and schools. The Family Engagement Center will lead the efforts to help schools and families partner in the education and success of all of our students. Dr. Mapp is the leading expert in family engagement, and her research has guided our efforts in these works. Her book, Beyond the Bake Sale, co-authored with Dr. Ann Henderson, outlines 4 core beliefs that are fundamental to authentic family engagement and to building a culture rooted in dignity. They emphasize that these core beliefs are especially important to our educators' mindsets and to their actions. They are more than just ideas or suggestions. Our first core belief is that all families care and have dreams for their children. All families care, regardless of their challenges and differences. Parents and caregivers have hopes for their children. They have hope for their children's happiness, their safety and security, and they hope for their child to have an opportunity to thrive. Core belief number 2, all families have the capacity to support their children. Regardless of how a family might show up, each family has its own strengths and experiences to support the education of their child. Core belief number 3, family and school staff should be equal partners, partnerships of mutual respect, shared responsibility, and a common goal of supporting all students in the success of their education. Core belief number 4, the responsibility for building and sustaining partnerships with school staff and especially with school leaders rests primarily with school staff and especially with school leaders. Our leaders set the tone, they create the welcoming environments, and our leaders ensure opportunities for meaningful and authentic family engagement. Our staff and building leaders do an absolutely excellent job of providing opportunities for student and family involvement through sending out newsletters, events, and meetings, just to name a few, as well as participation opportunities like volunteering and committee work. These efforts lay a strong foundation along the family engagement continuum. The planning and structures being put in place through the Family Engagement Center will build on this foundation by continuing to develop skills and confidence on both sides. Schools deepen their ability to connect with families, while families gain the knowledge, tools, and support needed to take a more active role in their child's education. As this work progresses from involvement to participation to true, authentic family engagement, educators and families are increasingly empowered through shared ownership and through shared leadership. Dr. Mapp tells us that engagement work is truly joyful work. When families and educators connect, when they collaborate, they see the positive impact on families. This creates a sense of purpose, trust, and shared success, which brings genuine joy to the work. There is absolute power in engagement, and the impact is well researched. There is evidence of improved academic performance in both math and literacy, gains in social emotional learning, and increased rates of attendance and higher graduation rates. There are great things happening all over our district between families and schools, and our goal is to strengthen that work and ensure all families have the opportunity to truly partner. We will capitalize on the impact of engagement by implementing it as a strategy rather than a goal. In simple terms, The goal is student success. We want all of our students to be successful. Family engagement is how we get there. Instead of treating engagement as something to check off the list, like attending an event or sending out that weekly newsletter, it's used intentionally to build authentic relationships, to enhance trust, to build skills and confidence on both sides, on the sides of the family and on the side of the educators. Through ongoing engagement, both groups learn how to work together, to share the responsibility, and to support student learning more effectively. So engagement, it is not the finish line. Engagement is the way families and schools partner to help students grow and to succeed.
So while they're changing over, members, I'll report a couple of the slides have a lot on them, and you have the full size here if you want to refer to those so you can actually read them.
Good evening. We are now going to dive in deeper to what the dual capacity building framework for family and school partnerships actually is. Before we do that, we want to look into the rationale for why we chose this framework. Significant time was put into researching frameworks and different modalities, and ultimately we decided on the dual capacity building framework because it strongly supports our equity work that we have been doing and will continue to do in this district. It's rooted in trauma-informed practices, it aligns with our restorative practices, and it's going to work extremely well with our multi-tiered systems of support. And most importantly, it promotes culturally responsive and relevant modalities. You have this handout before you, so it'll be a little clearer than you may be able to see it up here, but this is the 5 parts of the dual capacity building framework. The first is that challenge. Family engagement has often been inconsistent and at times inequitable. We are aware of that history. That is part of the challenge that educators and families face. So we first have to acknowledge that challenge. Next, we move into the essential conditions. For engagement to be effective, it has to be relational, linked to learning, developmental, collaborative, and interactive. When these things are in place, engagement becomes meaningful and connected to student success. When it comes to the next aspect of policy and program goals, this work has to be built into our system. It can't just be another thing. It has to be the way that we do things embedded into our MTSS structure. Fourth, we look at capacity. We build skills on both sides. That's where we have the dual capacity. It's not just working with our educators or just working with our families. It is working with both and how they work together to learn, support, and advocate. And then lastly, outcomes. The goal is improved student success, stronger family voice, and increased trust, leading to more equitable outcomes across our entire system. This framework helps us by stopping doing engagement to families and instead doing engagement with families, which is essential for supporting every student. And now we have the exciting part of what comes next.
All right, so you've heard a lot about the research. You now have the framework. I do want to talk about next steps or really the lesson plan of how we're going to roll this out. And both Tina and Kylie shared the importance of building leaders, championing this work and being the leaders for our schools. And so the first thing that we would like to do is go through 6 different modules with our building leaders as we build capacity on authentic family engagement. We had the benefit of taking all year to work through these topics, and so this is where we're going to start with our building leaders. The first one is the critical importance of family engagement, and the learning target is basically from our dignity work. It's highlighting the role of dignity, building trust, and respectful partnerships. The second module is understanding parent perceptions. So going to what Tina really talked about, that equitable practices, where we identify gaps in family expectations and what school experiences they have. The third module is supporting developmental stages of children. So when we differentiate our professional learning by grade level, really unpacking the early years of kindergarten, looking at our elementary school years, our middle years and what our young adolescents need, and then our high school years, our post-secondary success, a lot what Dr. Amaya presented on last time. The next module is the impact on educators, and we don't want this to be extra for our educators. In terms of it being part of our system, and this is how we approach authentic family engagement, it can actually, in the end, decrease workload when we partner early and often and have that strong relationship. The next module would be educational leadership and family engagement, going back to continuing to support our building leaders as they are the champions of this work, focusing on equitable and restorative practices. And then the last module is that strategic planning and sustainability. We want lasting impact, so what type of action plan will we create at the district level and with our schools? Additional opportunities for professional learning, we're going to, you all have the book, and our building leadership team will also receive this book from Dr. Karen Mapp, Everyone Wins, The Evidence for Family-School Partnerships and Implications for Practice. We're going to spend a lot of time getting to know the dual capacity building framework. Mindful inquiry is a professional practice we used to spend a lot of time on, so bringing that back, it supports our dignity work in terms of listening and openness, not being judgmental. And then finally, we know that in student supports, we need to be talking to T&L and teaching and learning, and what opportunities that are natural for authentic family engagement on the academic side, especially as we are rolling out new curriculums and just making sure that we partner and our parents know those academic goals. And then finally, we know as a team, it's very important that we engage, listen with our current supports. And so our mental health teams, our school counselors, our social workers, we want to work directly with our front office staff. They engage with parents every minute of the day. So how can we support them? We do have positions, parent involvement facilitators. We want to work with those positions. Certain schools, and we have schools already in multiple places, so meeting the needs, but our title schools, Montessori, our Kennedy Pre-K, they already have certain family engagement initiatives and models, so how we connect with them and support them. All right, so I just want to end with, we have this authentic family engagement model, and we're kicking off, like Tina shared earlier, the Family Engagement Center, which will be located here at 110 McDonald Drive. And the goal of this center is just to create and align and be more cohesive for family engagement across all of our schools. It is not to replace anything that's happening currently in our buildings. It's to provide additional opportunities for families to connect and grow. We want to offer supports when needed, and we want to strengthen our consistency in how families experience engagement across our system. A couple of key partnerships that I do want to highlight with the Family Engagement Center. The first is we have a very high functioning enrollment center that really focuses solely on our new families to the district. So this center is for all families, and so making that distinction, and we would work closely with the enrollment center. Also the Schools Foundation, they are connecting with families and community businesses all the time, and so how we can continue to support their work based on the need that they do share and they're trying to address all the time. Even meeting with Dina, like our LEAP partner work, they want to be more involved with our families, and our community partners do as well. A couple of things that when we look at this center and what would you see inside this space, first, there could be parent and caregiver learning. So really talking about the academic support strategies or the developmental stages There could be classes offered for parents in this space. It could be a place for cultural and community connection, so affinity spaces for families, for diverse backgrounds, new to the district families when you have people relocating to Lawrence and maybe they're from the same area and they didn't know it. So our team making those connections to help support our families, which would build community and belonging. Community resources. So just in this short time, like just streamlining all of that into one cohesive place, from what type of assistance our families are needing, health and wellness, resource planning. We talked to the nurse coordinator. There's lots of potential that could also be housed out of there, or a space rented, or not rented, but scheduled when needed. And I think another piece that would be really important for us to share is we want to really align with the academic school year. So being thoughtful and intentional when it's back to school, or there's school breaks, or there's summer happening, and all those times when a family engagement center can offer support or resources for those upcoming events. We plan to launch and open the Family Engagement Center at the Kids Expo, supporting the foundation. We feel like that's a natural place, and we're pretty excited about that. If you see a little mobile van, there is a long-term goal to go mobile and provide access to as we broaden our engagement across the community. So there's lots of opportunity, there's lots of interest on how we can connect just throughout this year in terms of the departments here at the ESC and how we connect directly to our schools. So with that, I think we would definitely take any questions. We're very excited.